Welcome to the breakdown recorded July 14th, 2020. This is the show where I break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world right now, and I give you my opinion. Now, this is my opinion. If you want to learn more about these stories, check out the show notes down below. I'll put a link to each story I talk about there so you can read them for yourself and let me know what you think. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. It really helps us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, and hopefully we can help you learn something new. If you find any good stories or you want more stories like this, check out my Twitter feed. I'll put a link to it in the pinned comment in the top of the comments down below. Alright, let's get into it, starting off with a little bit of a different story. So today we're going to dive into some of the plans that schools are coming up with to reopen this fall. Now, often I give a lot of my opinions on this. I'm going to try to just kind of stick to this list of an official breakdown from a school district in Texas who is going to be reopening in-person and online options. So Texas has often offered in their school districts an option to basically homeschool through online, where the school provides kind of an online system. They're going to continue to do that. So if you don't want to send your kids to school this fall, you don't have to. But they are also going to be making a lot of changes to in-person systems here for in-person learning in schools. And I wanted to break that down and really kind of take a look like, hey, if I want to send my kid to school this fall, what are some of the changes we're going to see down there? Now, again, this is for a little bit of a smaller school system in Texas, but I think many of these changes will go across all school districts. And I'd love to know if your school district has offered their plan to reopen in person. If so, what are they doing different? Or is there anything in here you wish your school was doing? Now let's start off with number one, staggering start times. So it looks like according to the school, according to what they're telling parents, is by grade level they'll be changing the start times. That way, instead of just everybody showing up at 8 a.m., maybe kindergarten shows up at 8 a.m. and first grade at 8:10 and so on, with an effort of staggering out when kids actually come in. So not everybody's leaving at once, and not everybody's coming in at once. Not a bad idea. A little harder for school districts to rely very heavily on busing, but there's things you could do with that still to try to stagger that, but it'll be much more difficult. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the idea of staggering, regardless, I love. Because I hate picking up my daughter from school, having a massive long line, waiting forever. The idea of like, oh, it's only first graders. I can just pull up, get my daughter, and move on. Would be a lot easier. Also, during the day, high schoolers and middle schoolers will no longer have the same schedules. So a lot of schools have been kind of going to, instead of each kid goes to a different class, especially in middle school, like groups of kids go from class to class at the same time. You stick with the same group of kids. That's how it was in my middle school. I'd love to know if your middle school did that too. What they're talking about here is instead of having all the kids just rush out of the classrooms and mingle together in the hallways, it's like, okay, this class of kids maybe will start at 9:20, this one at 9:10, for example. That way we just have small groups of kids going through the hallways, making it easier to social distances between classes. Now, this could make it a little bit harder for individual schedules, especially at the high school level, but it would allow some breakdown there where instead of a few hundred kids all cramming together, you may say, hey, these 30 kids are going to go switch classes, these 30 kids. Well, that may be a little tough on teachers, not having everybody on the same schedule. It would definitely increase social distancing. Next up, fourth grade and above will be required to wear masks during transition group activities and when working one-on-one with teachers. Now, I've heard that middle school, sixth grade and up, at all times will be required to wear masks, except for when eating or drinking and that kind of stuff. So this is kind of an interesting one. Fourth grade and up, is that a good breaking point to say, hey, if you're a fourth grader, you're old enough and mature enough to put on your mask when you're transitioning between activities, when you're doing one-on-one, group activities, and more. That seems a reasonable one. I think, when it comes to third grade, it may kind of depend on the kid a little bit. Some kids may be more than able to do that. Others may not. I don't know. What do you think? Fourth grade, good breakdown point for that. Teachers will be wear masks at all times and in the halls and within 6 feet of any individual or group, which probably means that teachers are going to be wearing masks at all times. I don't really remember any time where a teacher could be 6 feet away in a classroom, except for maybe at their desk, where maybe all the kids are working at their desk and the teacher's sitting at their desk. Maybe just an opportunity to take the mask off for a few minutes and before they get up and start teaching again or interacting with the kids. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you think of that. All right. Elementary students will remain in their own homeroom with their peers and teachers. Instead of transitioning from their homeroom to music and more, now the music teacher will come to the homeroom for the different classes. Same with art and more. Doesn't say anything about gym, which raises a question. Will we maybe just not have gym? I know many schools have been downplaying gym in an effort to get more education out there, but will we see more and more schools cut back on gym, or at least maybe limit what, more outdoor gym, less games, maybe more running or solo activities? I don't know. That'll be interesting, but it's actually not a bad idea. I know it will be a little annoying for the teachers have to probably get a cart and bring all the art supplies to the students, and now you have to worry about maybe paint spilling on the carpet in the classroom. But the actual ability to not have to waste that time going between different classrooms would be huge. When I was a summer camp director, when I was in college, I worked at summer camp, worked my way up to being a director in the summer. One of the biggest things that ate up a lot of time was moving kids from point A to point B, especially the younger kids. It would sometimes eat significantly into all the activities and time. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I really do believe that that's not a bad idea. I actually think that's probably something that will, at least with maybe music and others, well, yeah, it's annoying to have to haul the stuff to the classroom. To not have to spend the time to go between different activities is pretty nice. All right. Students will need to bring their own lunch, no hot lunches. And I've heard that if you are qualified for a free lunch and more, they are going to go to a bag lunch system where instead of you coming to the cafeteria or to the gym or wherever you get your food to run down that line to get your food, they'll just drop off a set number of bag lunches to your classroom to eat them in your classroom there. So basically, a lot of that times where the kids would all come into the group rooms and all eat there, it's just not going to be happening anymore. And it's not a bad idea. Again, that's a lot of time. Transitioning, moving, limits the amount of time they eat. When I was in school, that's what we did. Like high school, we basically ate in our classroom. You could go get hot lunch, but most people didn't. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Lunches will be spread out also. So for the high schoolers or some more who will be using the cafeteria, they will be spreading out the lunches and disinfecting the tables between each lunch, and also be set up with 6 feet distancing and dividers in the cafeteria for the kids who will still be using those. But most of the elementary students will be eating in the rooms. And I think this is about the middle school and high schoolers right there. So I think that's very interesting. Well, let me know what you think. Staggering the meals, 6 feet divider or 6 feet separation, dividers for the kids who will be using that. Temperature screenings will be done for all individuals prior to entering the building, along with a weekly, this is what I find interesting, self-screened at-home test with more details to come in. So apparently you'll also be required to do an at-home screening in addition to the temperature checks. Be interesting to see what that is. Are they going to go so far as make you get a COVID-19 test? Probably not. That would be very difficult for the ability of testing to test every kid every week. But I bet there would be some additional testing that they require at home and maybe you report. Putting trust on parents to self-report accurately. That could be difficult because as a summer camp director, I know many parents send their kids to these kind of things sick just because they don't have any other options. But I'd love to know what you think. And lastly, playgrounds will be limited to one class at a time, will be disinfected between each one. Sounds like they bought some foggers to fog the playground equipment. And that will greatly limit the number of kids out there, allow for social distancing, keep the homeroom bubble intact, hopefully, which is like, hey, this home group goes for a 20-minute recess, this home group goes for a 20-minute recess. They do have multiple where it's like the younger kids' playground, the older kids' playground, and the really older kids' playground. So that would probably allow it. Schools that maybe only have one real playground, that could be a lot more difficult. I'd love to know what you think of this. These are the breakdowns of what this school district says they're going to do. Do you agree with it? Do you think it is a useful set of rules? Do you think it doesn't go far enough? Leave me a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. All right, a few other quick stories, just some fun things I pulled up today. Starting off with, if you are looking to hold a gathering that breaks the rules, you may want to seriously rethink about how much food you order. In Melbourne, a big house party ordered 20 family-style meals from KFC. The KFC staff reported them to the authorities, which led to a mass crackdown. So if you're going to throw an illegal party, or if you're going to throw one that breaks the social rules, whether you agree with them or not, maybe not ordering the food, a massive amount of food, may be a way to go. Also, a woman who has been missing her husband. I love this story. He's in a critical care unit. She's been missing him a lot. She went and got a job at this long-term care facility so she could see him because guests are currently not allowed. So she went and said, hey, I'm going to go get a job there so I can see my husband. I absolutely love that story. It is a great, great story there. So check that out. Links in the show notes. Also, if you are a Nintendo fan, good news. Nintendo is coming out with a Lego themed set. So it's a Lego set themed to Nintendo, I should say. That's a Nintendo NES with a screen and everything that you can put together yourself into it. Word is it'll probably retail around 200 some bucks, a little pricey, about 2,000 pieces. Not a small little kit. It looks like it'll be almost a life-size Nintendo NES. Absolutely love this. Growing up, the NES and Legos were two of my favorite things as a kid. And to bring them together into a Lego NES device, that would be pretty cool. And lastly, if you want to try something different in South Africa, there is a luxury hotel out there that will be offering the ability for guests to sleep in a train. Not just a train, but a train parked on a bridge. So you will have the view down the bridge in both directions in your luxury hotel room built into a train car. I find this really cool. This is kind of a fun idea. My question is, how are they able to park this train on this bridge? Don't other trains or other people need to use that bridge? But a very interesting story, kind of cool. Are you a train buff, or do you just love to have a different stay in a different type of hotel? I don't know, if I ever make it out to South Africa, this could be something I would want to check out. Well, that's it for today. I hope this little bit different version of the breakdown is interesting to you. I'd love to know what you think of these different rules. Leave me a comment. Let me know. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, check out the link down below. Follow me on Twitter for more stories, news, tips, and just my personal ramblings. Thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. I know there's a lot of new subscribers here. I'll be back real soon with more of a regular episode.